Click play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to this week's Sit and Talk. I will be the answerer of the questions this week. As you may already be aware, this is a weekly show, but we rotate between which of the different content producers answer your questions. And so last week, you were asked to leave questions for me, and next week will be Quirk once again, so it's going to be the same rotation. So if you want to leave questions for Quirk, leave them in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click the link in the video description below to go to our site, so you leave them there, because that's where we draw them all from. And that's why comments should be disabled on this video, is because we want you to go to our site and leave them, not because we don't like YouTube comments, but just because it's a lot easier for me to print them off when they're on our site. This is the show where you ask me anything about anything, and usually wargaming or business related, but sometimes it can get to things of a personal nature where you just get to sit back and learn more about us and hear our opinions on things if you really want to. And there's two segments to the show, a free 30-minute segment and then a 30-minute segment in the MiniWarGaming Vault. Once again, will be at the link in the video description below. If you're not a Vault member, you can still go and get a free 7-day trial, get instant access to the other 30 minutes, as well as the thousands of other videos in the MiniWarGaming Vault. And so what I do here is I print off all the questions, and you can thumb up which questions you want answered, and the top roughly 10 I will then answer first, and then after that I just take random questions. So it doesn't matter when they were posted, because they're actually in a random order. So if you ever leave a comment, and also, by the way, when you're posting comments for this, if you are posting a question for Quirk, start the comment with Quirk. And if you're posting something in response to me, it won't be answered in the next show, but I'll be able to see it and get your feedback. Just start it with Matthew or Matt. I noticed that last time, because before the Sit and Talk show was me every week, and so I would kind of have this continuing conversation. And so when we had it switch, I kind of missed people responding to what I said. So if you want to respond to what I say in this show, just leave a comment that starts with Matt. And if you want to both respond to me and leave a question for Quirk, just make it two different comments. One that starts with Matt, one that starts with Quirk. That way we can quickly scan through and see which are which. So let's jump right into this. Cody Rue, Matthew. Of all the campaigns that MiniWarGaming has run in the last couple of years, which was the most successful in the generation of Vault memberships? And why do you think that series was more successful than others? The answer to that question is simple. It was our first one, Fate of Fayoum. And I think the simple answer is because it was new and it was our first. Now, narrative campaigns overall have added a lot of Vault members, but none of them did as many specifically for their own campaign as the very first one did. And that's normal. Whenever something new is introduced, then obviously it's going to generate more attention. And then when you continue to do it, well, a lot of people who are already interested in it have already signed up. So there's the two parts that you have to look at, is the generation of Vault members and the retention of Vault members. And so when we put one out, it might not generate as much as the first one, but it can help retain the ones that signed up from the first one as well. So by far, Fate of Fayoum, the very first one, Necrons versus Tyranids, was the most popular, which is usually expected when you start something new. Same thing with our Horus Heresy battle reports. The first couple that we put out got lots and lots of views and signups, sorry. And the other ones are getting good signups too, but usually it's hard to beat the first unless you do something really, really special. Additionally, what video or video series stands out as the most enigmatic in the lack of Vault subscriptions it generated? Example, it had a lot of views, thumbs up, positive comments, yet didn't translate to additional signups in the Vault. I don't know if there's a single series, except maybe the Sit and Talk, because I find that the majority of people who watch the Sit and Talk are people who are more invested, more interested in MiniWarGaming, which tend to be our Vault members. So this one gets views, lots of comments, lots of thumbs up. There's been lots of battle reports, 40K or otherwise, that get a lot of views, a lot of positive comments, lots of thumbs up, but don't generate Vault memberships. There's a lot of things that you have to kind of consider, the psychology of why somebody would go and sign up to the Vault. For example, if there's two battle reports, one free and one in the Vault, but they don't really have anything to do with each other, then whether people, after watching the free one, go and sign up for the Vault, there's a lot of things that I presume would affect that decision. For example, was the free game really energetic, and was it really, really close? Was it fun to watch? Was it just an entertaining game overall? If the answer is yes, then I think they'd be more likely to sign up for another one because they're in a good emotional state, and if you're in a good emotional state, you're more likely to purchase something. That's just the way it goes. A salesperson or a store or an online store, they need to make sure that they design things or treat in such a way as to help you to be in the right emotional state to purchase. And so I think a good battle report is more likely to put you in that than a bad one. And since we post all of our battle reports, we don't really have control over that because we don't make so many that we can just throw out the bad ones. Plus, a lot of them, most of them, volunteers come in from a long distance to play against us. We don't want to be like, well, that one didn't work out well, so we're not even going to show it, because that's not really fair to them. If it was between employees, then sure, we could decide to can it if it was really that bad, and we have sometimes in the past, not very many times. So I think that if it's not that interesting, the battle report, which is going to happen sometimes, then it's going to generate less vault signups. That's usually what we see. Or if it's a new army, then it tends to, or an updated army, a recently updated army, it tends to get more vault signups. So it's kind of what you would think, although in some ways not always what you'd think. But it's hard for us to guesstimate or to really know which ones are going to do the best, because we'll do something and it works really well, and then we'll replicate it, and it doesn't do as well. And so there's a lot of factors, and we just kind of try to make the best content we can, and we scrap shows that are absolutely useless when it comes to generating views and vault memberships, and we try to do more of the ones that are doing well, which is how we've evolved over the years. Like, we started off just making any kind of wargaming related videos, and now I think we're best known for our battle reports, because over time, as we experimented, battle reports always did well, whereas other things would be sporadic. Some would be good, some wouldn't be, but in the end, battle reports were our bread and butter for how well they worked. Blippity blip. Matt, how do you decide what models MiniWarGaming buys? Do the staff give you wish lists? Do they buy their own and the company reimburses them? Does Dave pray to the Chaos God and summon them? Is there a monthly budget which you spread out amongst the armies? Or do you just go on the Games Workshop website and click on the cool stuff until the shopping basket is full? We basically, I usually am the one that makes the purchasing. I'm the one that does the purchasing. That doesn't mean I'm the only one that makes a decision. It just really depends. There's no one way we do it. We don't have a set monthly budget how much we spend, but I do keep an eye on how much we spend just to make sure we're not going over. But in the end, if we need something, we buy it. More expensive has been the recent foray into Horus Heresy, where we had to not just buy expensive models from Forge World, but we had to buy entire armies. But basically, to answer the question about who buys it, the employees are always given a choice, and there's really no pressure either way. They can either buy the army themselves, paint it up on their own time, and then own that army, or we as the company purchase the miniatures. They paint the miniatures on our time. In other words, we pay them, and it is 100% ours. They still have some sort of ownership in a sense while they're working here. That's kind of their army, like Lee with his Emperor's Children, or Dave with the Alpha Legion, or sorry, Quirk with the Alpha Legion. And then our new content producer, who will be Josh, who will be starting next week. He's getting Mechanicum. So those are all technically studio armies because they were purchased by us and painted by our staff while we were paying them. So they're 100% legitimately ours. So if they ever stopped working for us, we would keep the armies. Whereas Steve decided that he really wanted to own his Iron Warriors, and so he purchased those and he paints them all in his own time. And so if he ever stopped working for us, he would take those with him because they are totally his. And so that's the option we've given people. And it's an advantage to us as MiniWarGaming either way. If they decide that they want the company to fund it, then it's ours, and we don't have to worry about, because some employees come and go, not everybody sticks around. And so that way we get to keep the army. But at the same time, if somebody like Steve purchases their own army, that frees up more funds for us to buy other stuff. But it means that obviously it is not our army if Steve ever stopped working for us, which one day will happen. Like, no matter what, every employee has a day when they will stop working for us, whether it's because they find something else, or quit, or retire, or die. Like, everybody has an expiration date when it really comes down to it. So whether we get to keep the miniatures or not is something that we have to consider. So that's an important choice. But what we buy is just usually new stuff. We spent a good amount of money over the past couple of years fleshing out our armies, adding to them to bring all the units so that when we use them in narrative campaigns or battle reports, we have all the options that we want. And I think we're nearing the completion of that for 40K. We've got pretty much everything there is to collect in 40K within a certain amount, some armies more than others. 30K, obviously, we've got a long way to go. We've got plenty of legions we haven't even started collecting. And then when it comes to 40K, when new stuff comes out, we buy them. Like Space Wolves are getting an update. So we're buying the new Wolfen models. But that's about it. We've already got a Space Wolves army, so that's kind of nice. Kind of gives you an insight into why Games Workshop would really push trying to get new people into the hobby, and as a lot of veterans feel like they don't care about them. Well, in a sense, the veterans aren't the best source of money for the company because we're an exception. We just keep buying stuff. But when something new, like a Space Wolf Codex gets updated, well, an existing Space Wolf player only spends a little bit of money. They get the new models, the new book, and maybe some new stuff because the new book makes certain things better than others. But somebody sees the new book and they want to get into Space Wolves, then they'll buy the entire army. And so I'm not saying that veteran players aren't an important contribution to the hobby, because they are, obviously, because they still buy stuff usually, and they also contribute by building the hobby membership by playing with other people and theoretically helping to grow that aspect of the social part of the hobby. Either way, that was a bit of a tangent. We just buy. Something comes out, we need to buy it. We do. We've been building new armies. They gave me wish lists for when we chose our legions for 30K, and then each of them basically built an army, and they gave me a list, and I went through it. And I think for the most part, I just bought everything that they asked for, because I gave them a points restriction. I said build a 2,000 point or 2,500 point list, and we bought that, and then we did a second wave. And so for the most part, they kind of build their army, and then I just purchase it. We try to look for cost savings. Like I bought 11 Betrayal at Calth box sets, and that saved us a ton of money for all the tactical marines and some of the contemptors and terminators and things like that, because it was such a good deal compared to buying it from Forge World at full price. Holy cow. Okay, so I think I answered that question sufficiently. Secondly, from Blippity Blip, will we see a new content producer soon? Well, I just said we do have a new one, Josh, who we've seen in videos. If you know who I'm talking about, he's the guy with the big beard. He's been in a lot of stuff, a lot of different games. And so he will start working for us next week, which I'm looking forward to. But you're saying someone to take Leland's place. Now we actually have also hired a new painting tutorial producer. That's what we were planning on replacing Leland with, but then we also hired Josh. And so probably starting next week, if not the week after, you will see more painting tutorials being going up. And so you'll see a change there. And will we see any more non-heretic Horus Heresy armies? Your Salamanders are vastly outnumbered, and personally I'd love to see some Iron Hands or Imperial Fists or Ultramarines if you get really desperate fighting the good fight. I know Quirk is starting to build an Ultramarines army. I believe Steve is going to do a Dark Angels army. And Dave is going to probably I think he's going to do a Blood Angels army. I think that's what he's going to do. And then Josh is actually going to be doing a Mechanicum army, which can be good or bad, so that's kind of nice. And my second army is a Solar Exilia army, which people can use as traders or as loyalists too. So yeah, we're going to be adding more. So over time, we'll add more and more. Dr. Williams 13. Matt, where is the Swedish chef? Chris just says, ask Matt, ask Matt. Well, where is he, good sir? I don't know. I've told him a few times to do it. So, Chris, where's the Swedish chef? What? Where is the Swedish chef? Get the costume? What do you mean? It just shows your hands. We'll work on that. But I don't know. Boss, or Bosse the Boss. Matt, do you guys have every single Primarch model from Horus Heresy? If you do, please make a video showing them. No, we don't. We have a lot of them. We have all the legions that we currently own and collect. If there is a Primarch available for it, we have it. And then we have a couple extra ones like Angron. Maybe it's just Angron. Yeah, I think it's just Angron that we have as well. So there's still a few others that we need to collect, but we're not in a rush to, because we don't necessarily have the legions for them. Toby Gaunt 89. Hey Matt, greetings from Sweden and from a fellow NIDS player. My question to you regards setting up a 40K narrative campaign. I'm thinking of setting one up with a couple of people down at the local gaming place, and I was reminded of Warzone Apophis, which was overall a great series. Question, what do you recommend in terms of core rules that is needed to set up a campaign so as to allow people involved in it, regardless of which army they play, to stay relevant throughout the campaign? Meaning not just the powerhouse armies winning the entire campaign without much effort. Give orcs a chance. Waggy waggy wog, weeping orc boy. That's tough. It's just tough because 40k is so unbalanced. We find that with our narrative campaigns, the way that we balance it is that we sit down together and we build our list together to make sure that they're not too off from each other, as well as we can do that, because it's impossible to make it perfect. But if you're making a campaign, people are still going to power game. They're just going to naturally want to power game. So there's not much you can really do about that. What you can do is you can maybe make it like 2 or 3 forces, and in those forces you can have like a team of different kinds of armies, and then you could have some of the powerful armies like Eldar maybe work for more than one force, because Eldar could have an allegiance with almost anybody. You can try to balance it that way, but in the end, if somebody's going to power game and they've got an Eldar D-Scythe and D-Weapon list, or a Necron Decurion, they're going to kill the orcs with their combined arms attachments or whatever else that they want to bring. That's just going to happen. So there's not much you can do about that unless everybody agrees to dumb down their powerful lists, which is tough to do when you have a large group of people. When I do it with employees, of course I can just tell them to do that, and it's their job, so it's different. But it's different when you're running it in a club or in a store. So you just have to do the best you can. Also, I hope you guys set up an Astra Militarum versus Tyranid narrative series in the future. Would be awesome to watch. Guardsmen and Nids have a nice vibe to them and on the tabletop, as well as rich lore to work around. We actually did kind of that. Storms of Ixia featured the Imperial Guard, Nids, and Orcs. And so you did see some Guardsmen versus Nids. Sleeps in Snow. Hey Matt, I was wondering what your thoughts are on the new Curse of the Wolfen. Also, I love the Utgard Infestation campaign. Was wondering if you could do something like that against Space Wolves. I don't see them enough at MiniWarGaming. I actually haven't really read much about the Curse of the Wolfen. Dave's going to be taking care of doing reviews for that, and I've just been so immersed in so many other things. So I really don't have any thoughts on them. I know so little about them that I'm sorry I can't answer that question. As for a narrative campaign of Space Wolves, definitely that could be on the table at some point. Obviously would involve Dave, most likely, as that's the army he likes to play. Black Smithleen. Matthew, as a longtime Bronze Vault member, am I going to be able to watch Silver membership videos in the future? I understand what you say, nothing changes unless you quit and then sign back up again, price-wise. But is this also true for the content and videos that we have access to? Yeah, I guess some people have been asking that. I guess I wasn't clear enough in the email I sent out. We were making some changes to the vault, some changes that we've been meaning to make for a long time, and you're going to be seeing those. We increased the price of the Bronze and Silver yearly membership just because it's been like 7 years since we had a price increase, and just if you don't increase prices, inflation will catch up with you and you make less and less money. On top of that, our costs of running our business go up as we hire more people and everything, so it just makes sense. Now that one's not as big a factor because you hope that your membership grows as well with that. But inflation alone makes it so that you make less and less money on that. But if you're currently a Bronze or Silver member paying a yearly membership, as long as they don't cancel, you're grandfathered in the old price. The other change that we're making is, what Dave and I were discussing doing was actually starting new MiniWarGaming channels, and then when you're a Bronze member, you choose one of those channels and you get access to those videos. And if you're a Silver member, you get access to all of them. And that was going to be complicated to implement without spending a lot of money. So instead, we're just making it simpler, in that we've actually hired another painting tutorial producer, and so we're going to be producing more painting tutorials. And so we were basically taking the painting tutorials and we're putting them in the Silver vault. And the Bronze will still have access to all the other videos, battle reports, narrative campaigns, behind the scenes, the sit and vault, all those shows, but the painting tutorials and other hobby tutorials will be in the Silver. The main reason for that is it's actually a longer talk about that. It has to do with how what used to be 3 memberships, Gold, Silver, and Bronze, were created over the years, and the changes in our business that have made certain memberships not make as much sense. And so we've had to adjust things to make it make sense. So we still wanted to have a nice inexpensive Bronze membership for those who just, they're like, oh, I'll throw a few bucks at it, sure, and I'll get a few extra videos. And to be honest, most people sign up because of the battle reports and narrative campaigns. And so with the painting tutorials, we're actually going to start putting out some for free and starting in the next couple of weeks. And that'll help to make people aware of the fact that we do painting tutorials. And then, of course, to get those, you'd have to become a Silver Vault member, which allows people. So you have a choice. Do you want all the content? Then you can pay at the Silver level. And if you're happy with just getting the battle reports, narrative campaigns, all that, then you can stay Bronze member. The Silver and Bronze had a bigger difference before when we were doing a lot of free DVD giveaways, because the Silver allowed you to get all the DVDs, whereas the Bronze didn't. But since we haven't been doing those as much, although we are going to be doing more of those, it it made less of a distinction between silver and bronze. Like, sure, you can download our videos. Once again, that was a bigger benefit a few years ago when not everybody had as good internet, but as time goes on, internet gets better and better. And being able to download videos over streaming them is not as big a benefit anymore. Still a benefit, but not as big a one to make a difference in the levels. So we've had to readjust it, is what I'm trying to say, to make it make sense that there's a distinction between silver and bronze. With the gold membership is still there, we're just not selling it anymore, just because over time it's just shown that it was once again, it was originally created when we had our store and we were given a discount. We still give discounts at the Warstorm Black Knight games, but we're finding that it's just not providing enough value for our members for them to really be keeping it. So retention isn't really good there. So we've done a lot of adjustments, and I know that some people won't like that. But to answer your question, if you're currently a bronze member, then you'll continue to get what you signed up for. And that includes the quick tips and painting tutorials, because we don't want to take existing members and remove things from them and give it to somebody else. I don't like the idea behind that. It's not good. You signed up for something, you were expecting something. I can't just pull the carpet from under your feet and say, well, we're gonna change that on you. I just don't believe that, unless it's something that we're improving, like we're gonna give you more stuff, which we've already been doing just by adding more shows and covering more games and all that kind of stuff. So we're always adding more stuff to the Vault membership. So if you're currently a bronze, meaning before I made the change 2 days ago, then as long as you don't cancel, you'll continue at the price that you signed up for, and you'll continue with the benefits that you signed up for, and that includes the painting tutorials, even the ones that we add in the future. So just know that. If you ever decide to cancel and then sign up back later, you'll lose those benefits, unless of course you take the silver membership. And if you want to upgrade to get the other benefits of the silver membership, then just email support@miniwargaming.com and they can take care of you. And you'll have all the stuff that we do offer there. As an aside, I'm more than happy to pay the newer, higher price anyway for my membership, as it is my way of supporting the great work you do for the miniature wargaming community worldwide. Robin in the UK. Well, thank you. That's really nice. That's just really nice. Like I said, don't worry about it. If you're currently a member, the idea here is that it's an increase that over time will help to add to our bottom line, which will allow us to spend more and invest more on the business. And that's really what it comes down to. And if you have any question about us investing in our own business rather than just taking all the money out and buying fancy cars and fancy houses, just look at the amount of miniatures and terrain that we've added in the past year and do some of the math and realize just how much money that would have cost to do that. And also the studios that we've renovated this past year, and the new employees that we're hiring, and making sure they're not just making minimum wage, because I don't want to be a company that just creates a bunch of minimum wage jobs. That's just not what I'm looking for. So we really are investing a lot of money in the company. A lot of the majority of money that we're getting from our Vault members is going right back into the company to create content and to try to improve said content as well. So, but yeah, anytime a price adjustment's made or memberships are shuffled around, there's always going to be some people that aren't too happy about that. Despot. Hello, Matthew. A couple of quick questions. Are we going to see the new Titan you guys got last year soon? Have you considered doing it better in which you switch armies with your opponent, meaning that you play your opponent army list and she plays yours? It could showcase MiniWarGaming expertise and ability to adapt to other armies than their own, and then make even more rules mistakes, of course, because now you're playing with an army that you're very unfamiliar with. Let me answer the question about the Titan. Yeah, that does need to go on Lee's to-do list, because when it got here, unfortunately, it was really damaged. And so we need to, we need to put it back together. Otherwise, it'll look great. It's green, so it'll match my salamanders great. So this can be a Titan to back up my salamanders. Or, it's a Titan, you can use it with any army, really. It's also green, so Sons of Horus. Or heck, it's just Mechanicum, so it could be green for some other reason. And so, yeah, we do need to get that painted up. It's not a Forge World Warlord Titan. It's one from the I'm going to forget the name, sorry. Titan Manufactorum. Google search that, I think you'll find it. But yeah, it was a little damaged when we got it, and so we need to get that fixed up. But there's always been other stuff that we've been working on, so I'll add that to Lee's list. And I say that as if he's there, but he's not there right now. Actually, he's out. So yeah, because it won't take him very long to fix it. Probably half a day, just to glue things back together. This is big. It's huge. So you want to make sure things are sturdy. Red Hunter. Matt, with a full work and family life, do you still have any time to play computer games? If so, what are you playing lately? I do. When my kids go to bed, sometimes I play. I have to regulate myself because I can get a little addicted. Like recently I played Fallout 4, and I had to uninstall that because I just kept playing it, even though I stopped having fun because I literally did everything that you could do in the game, minus mods and all that. And minus redoing it from the beginning. I started a new character, started it from the beginning because I was like level 70, I think. And I started a new character, and by level 5 or 10, I was like, okay, I just got to stop. I'm putting too many hours into this. So I uninstalled it. Then I got StarCraft 2, the latest one, Legacy of the Void. Ran through the single-player campaign. Then played some multiplayer, but not too much. More like against computers or some custom games. Had some fun with that. And then I uninstalled that one because I had to be careful not to play it too much. My wife and I have restarted playing Minecraft just casually. That one's fun because, you know, if during the day the kids are just going crazy and that they're hard to calm, sometimes we can just kind of toss them on our lap and we play a little Minecraft and they watch and they tell us what to do, so that's fun. I don't get into that one nearly as much, so I like it more that way because I'll sit down and play it for 20 minutes, and then because I've played Minecraft so much over the past years that it doesn't draw me in for as long. I'll just like jump in, work on some stuff, and then be done. So not a lot of computer game playing lately, just because, like I said, because I just get into it too much and I spend a lot of time. But yeah, you do have a lot less time when you're a father of 3, with another one on the way. That's a bit of an announcement right there. And so, yeah, it's pretty busy, especially when they're all 6 and under. So I love it though, but it's also very busy and very stressful and very tiring. So you have a little less time for things for yourself. But luckily for me, my work is something most people would do as their hobby, and so I kind of get that anyway, so it's kind of nice. Jonathan Aeronimus. Matt, Landspeeder Storms, do they have firing points? As far as I understand, Landspeeder Storms are open top. And open top, the entire ship is a firing point. In Bat Refs, I feel like I've seen embarked scouts fire, but I can't see in the Space Marine Codex that they do. I am 99.99999% sure that Landspeeder Storms are open top. And if that's the case, an open top vehicle, the entire vehicle is an infinite number of fire points. So any of the models can fire from any point of the vehicle. So it's totally legit. Vladzna, or Vladnza, or Vlad NSA. Ooh, all of a sudden it got pretty deep here. Matthew, glad to have you back. Really enjoying my Vault membership. Great. Anyone I talk to who has a question about 40K, I refer them to your website. I hope they sign up as well. Question, would you guys be able to do a Dark Angels campaign or battle reports? They are the army I've been playing since 1999 and what I started on. If possible, I would love to play against you and Dave and maybe Steve, and I can join armies. Brooks Vlad NSA. Oh, it is NSA. Thank you for everything you do. Like I said, Steve is, Steve already has a bit of a Dark Angel army. He doesn't play it a lot because he's got, does he have the Raven Wing or Deathwing? I think he has Deathwing, and he wants more Raven Wing stuff. And I know it has always been like this thing that he needs to work on, but he's got so many other things he's been painting too. And once again, it's his army, and so we can't use company resources to paint it up, because then it mixes things and it gets complicated. And not just complicated like I want the army, but complicated actually accounting-wise. So there's more to it than that. But anyway, he will be doing a 30K Dark Angels army, but it might be a while before you see that, because when we decided to do Horus Heresy, it took us probably 2 or 3 months to build up our armies. And whenever I decide to do a new army, it usually takes a couple months to get the miniatures, get them painted, which is pretty fast if you think about it, because we only play with painted models, so that means we have to have them all done before we can even use them. Wills. Hi Matt, what's your opinion on spicing up the Horus Heresy battle reports by throwing a Shattered Legion army into the mix? Well, that book is coming out soon. I've heard rumors that it might actually be today, meaning today when you're watching this. If that's the case, I'll be buying it, and I'll be reading it. I've been following the rumors and stuff, and so I have a vague idea of what it does, but yeah, why not, right? As far as I understand, you don't need new models for the Shattered Legion. You can just kind of use whatever you have, but we'll have to read that and see. But yeah, we're always looking for new ways to add variety. Not that we've done a ton of Horus Heresy battle reports yet anyways and need to really branch out. We still need to play against each other a lot more to get the Legion on Legion stuff too. I've just been so busy with volunteers coming in to play that it's been hard to do that, which is a great problem to have, by the way. Okay. Almost out of time. Let me answer another question or two. Tropic Thunder. Hi, Matt. Say y'all had a tourney where everyone made a list for the faction he was most associated with Each faction was tossed in a hat, and the MiniWarGaming staff took turns drawing a faction at random. Assuming lists had to be competitive and you couldn't draw the list you drew up, what faction would you fear drawing the most? I know Dave would dread drawing Tau. What would you dread drawing? Dread drawing. Sounds like a tongue twister. Well, if Dave decided to put just regular Chaos Space Marines in there, I wouldn't want to draw that one. Or if Quirk decided to put regular Orcs in there, I wouldn't want to draw that one. Because they're kind of the bottom of the barrel right now, and they wouldn't be that powerful. Yeah, and I know you're saying like Dave would dread drawing the Tau because they're Tau and he hates Tau, but I'm thinking more like competitive. There's no one army that I really hate. Even Dark Eldar, the army itself, it's fine. They're not the best. They're not as good as they used to be. Even if I don't like the fluff of the Dark Eldar, doesn't mean that the army isn't something I would want to play. So I'd say Chaos Space Marines or Orcs, just because of how weak they are, and it's hard to play them well. One more question. Dom 2000, Matthew, Tau's new formations are just amazing. I agree. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. But I can't get my local Wargaming Club members to allow them. They think it has become too easy for me. Any hint on how getting them to the greater good? Also, what's your favorite formation? I wouldn't play them. If your local gaming club is having a hard time and you're always beating them, you need to cripple yourself. You need to handicap yourself. Play a combined arms attachment with your Tau. Bring the, just do that instead. You need to make it interesting for others who play against you too. And the Tau, let's face it, are incredibly powerful right now, which means it's your job as a Tau player to scale your list down to your opponent. Whereas if you're playing an army like the Orcs, you can min-max all you want because you know you're going to need to face off against most armies. But if you're playing the powerful faction, your job as the gentleman or lady is to scale down your list so that when you play against your opponent, you have a fun time. See, for me, I find that there's two parts of the game. First is building the list, and I don't just mean min-maxing a list unless you need to. I mean building a list so that it's a fun game. Once you've done that, then you take the gloves off and you try to win. Like even if you are going to get somebody that you know it's not very good, what you can do is you can really handicap yourself, and then you can still have fun. Because the one thing I don't like doing is playing a game where I don't try to win. It's just boring. Like even if I play against my 6-year-old, we just got Battleship. We started playing Battleship, and he's beaten me like more than half the times that we've played. And at first, because he was just learning it, I'd actually move my ship around when he'd choose a spot, be like, "Oh, look, you hit it," and he'd get all excited. But now he's learned how to play. He's 6 years old, but that game is so random. Like I've tried search patterns and everything, and I still lose. I've lost more games than I've won against him. So it's kind of fun that way because I can try to win. Whereas when at first he was playing, I would try to win, but I would handicap myself by letting him get some, like for every 3 misses, I would move a ship and let him hit it. So then my job, then all of a sudden I was still trying to win, but see if I could beat my own handicap kind of thing. And so even there, playing against a 6-year-old, I find ways to handicap myself and say, okay, or we're playing Connect 4, if you ever know what that game is. I can beat him really easily in Connect 4. He's 6 years old, this is not me bragging. And so I'll make a different game, which is my game is to get the whole thing filled up, which is actually really hard because when you start to get close to the end, you have less choices, and so most of the time I actually have never been able to succeed at getting it filled up because we get to a point where if I choose one, the other one lets him win, but if I choose that one, then the other one lets him win, or it lets me win, and that's not my point. I'm trying to make it a stalemate. So you try to find ways to make it interesting. So in your list building aspect, handicap yourself if you need to. And then once you feel that you've done it well enough, then you can kind of take the gloves off and really try to win in the game using tactics and brute force or whatever you need to do. And I find that makes the game way more interesting. Thanks for all your questions. We're going to do another 30 minutes in the vault at the link below. And you can go ahead and click on that. If you're not a vault member, you can still get a free 7-day trial. Take the bronze or the silver and you'll get access to the sit-in vault there. And I'll see you in the next video. Happy wargaming.